welcome back to my channel. I'm going to put you guys down. If you're new here, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla, and I'm here to serve you some literary goodness on this fine Monday. Typically on this channel, Mondays are makeup Mondays, where I would do a makeup look inspired by a book or a book cover. So I will link the past two makeup Mondays that I've done, which is Shadow and Bone and Zenith. I will link those in the description box below, and you can go check those out, and I will have a new makeup Monday look for you next Monday. But today I have a book review for you that has been highly anticipated and very much people are excited for. So I'm very excited to bring it to you. I know last week I was pretty slow with uploads, moving into college and adjusting to a new schedule, and also getting the flu, which is basically the modern day plague, is a lot to handle in 1 week. So I really was sleeping a lot and didn't really want to be filming and editing things. So this week I'm back on the bandwagon, and I have a pretty packed schedule of things I want to share with you guys this week. And so be on the lookout for pretty steady updates. But today I want to bring you a book review for the book Zenith by authors Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. This was a highly anticipated read for 2018. People have been looking forward to this one for a very long time. I have a lot of thoughts on this book, and I don't want to waste time in an intro, so let's just get into the actual review. So, Zenith. First of all, I don't know where I want to begin this video, because I did like Zenith. I did like the book, and I have a lot to say about it, and I know it's going to seem like I didn't like the book, but I actually really enjoyed it. I was very hesitant to read this book. I knew that it was going to be a big book this year in 2018, and so I wanted to read it. I don't like to read hyped books, because what has happened to me in the past is I've read hyped books and I've gotten very excited about them, and I have let them consume my life, and then I've read them and they fell so short of the hype. And it was like, why did you all think this was amazing? It wasn't that great. Not the case with this one, fortunately. But I will go into all of that, and that I know is partly on me. I need to be able to cut through the hype and just look at a story for what it is. And that's what I really tried to do, to give you guys an unbiased review of it. So yeah, I think I do have a good idea of this book. It took me a very long time to read. The first time I started it, I had to start it multiple times. The first time I started it, I got about 10 chapters in, and I wasn't connecting with the story. I wasn't sucked in immediately. I didn't really love it, unfortunately. So I put it aside for a little bit. I read some other things. I went on vacation, kind of came back to it with a more clear headspace, and what happened was I started it again, and I actually got into it, and I really liked it, but it was still a very slow burn for me. But I have a lot of thoughts, and I have them written down. Maybe I should give you guys a summary of what happened. So this is a space piracy and organized crime novel, science fiction novel, and it follows Andy, or Androma Rosella, who is the Bloody Baroness, who is a kind of pirate, a space pirate, who operates a crew of just badass females on a spaceship, which is pretty awesome. And she has been exiled from her home planet for a crime she committed previously, and so what she's trying to do is be pardoned for those crimes. So she's helping the general of that planet recover his lost son, and she meets kind of an old foe / flame in the process, and things happening, and there's also a budding revolution happening at the same time. So that is what is happening. So let's talk about the things I liked and didn't like. I want to end this review on a positive note, so I will do the things I liked last. This is going to be as spoiler free as I can make it. I make no promises. So yeah, let's try it. So Zenith, the Androma Saga. First of all, I thought it was very, very busy. There were about, I think, 8 different perspectives, or 7 or 8 different perspectives, and that felt like a lot, especially in the beginning when you didn't really have background on all of the characters. They weren't all referenced within the main perspective, which was Androma or Andy's perspective, there were a lot of different points of view. And so when you don't even know who these people really are, but you're hearing from inside of their mind, it got a little overwhelming. But as they started to be used more in context with the book, it got clearer. And obviously, as you read more of the perspectives, you understand them a little bit better, and they're clearer and easier to understand. So at first, I think that was one of the put-offs from the first attempt at reading it, was the multiple different perspectives that just kind of created this tangle of characters and names that I didn't really put together. The same thing goes with the planet names and the solar system names. I had an advanced reader copy edition, which did not have the map in it, but I know that the published copy does have a map, so it would be easier for me to keep track of like distances in between things and how far they're traveling, and that's something I really like to keep track of as part of my reading experience, so I really know what they're going through. But that is no fault on the authors or anything like that. That was me. So the first kind of, I think, controversial opinion that I'm going to have about this book is I did not particularly like Andy as a character. Andy, to me, was nothing special because she didn't really feel like a captain. She felt like someone good at murdering people. There were a couple of situations where she needed to make a decision and she didn't want to, or she didn't know how to. She just kind of sat there and froze, and someone else was like, this is what we're going to do, let me save the day. And that is not what a captain is to me in my mind. I think she should have been more like, take charge and go. But I think she got her like praises and her lauds because she was a very talented mercenary and she could kill people very well and very efficiently, and that she was a very violent person, but that is very different than being a captain. She didn't necessarily always have the best like leadership disposition. She kind of pouted or she raged a lot, and that to me was not a leader. So yeah, I didn't really like emotionally connect to her. I also didn't understand her as a person. I understood her grief, and I really related to that and her guilt in killing people and her sorrow for murdering people. But it was like there were two different personalities within Andy herself. There was the Bloody Baroness side that didn't care about anybody and just wanted to murder, but then there was Andy, who is very, very emotional and very, very sensitive, and who felt very guilty for all of her murders, and felt bad for her past actions and couldn't take them back, and all sorts of different things. It was a very stark contrast that I found hard to exist within one person. So I just didn't really connect with her immediately and love her immediately. Along the same vein, there is a romance of sorts between Dex, who is from Andy's past, and Andy. It is very hot and cold and volatile, and they get very angry at each other, and they're always constantly bickering, but at the same time they'll say, I hate you, and punch each other, but internally be like, oh my god, why doesn't she love me? I love her so much. And that just disconnect didn't feel natural to me in a romance, and it wasn't developed enough. They had maybe one distinctly romantic moment, and that in itself felt warranted, but other things that were half romantic sentimental moments did not feel right, because they had just previously been violent to each other, or they were violent to each other right after, and it didn't make sense to me very much, that they could hate each other so ferociously but at the same time be madly in love. That didn't connect for me very much, but that's just me. This is a little thing. I'm gonna go with a little thing before I go into the thing that kind of really bugged me about the story. The dancing. There was a lot of dancing and a lot of references to dance. Andy was previously a dancer and all sorts of things, and that just didn't make sense to me. I guess when I think space, sci-fi, fantasy fiction, I don't immediately think dance, and so the elements of dance and all the different dance references and scenes didn't really make sense to me, and especially because Andy is such a violent person, and so destructive and dangerous, I don't look at her and immediately think dancer. And to see so many references to dance throughout it kind of threw me off a little bit. Like that I don't know. And I noticed that it was a key point. Now that I think about it, it was a key part of the plot. If she hadn't been a dancer, she wouldn't have met Kaylee, and all sorts of things. But I don't know. There so many references to dance, and it just didn't. I don't know. Didn't sit right with me. It wasn't like the badass science pirateness that I was expecting. And this is the last thing that kind of was a turnoff for me about this book. And it was the biggest one. And it was like, I would read the book and I would get to certain plot points, and like it happened as I was falling in and out of cycles of loving this book, but I would get to plot points and it would be like a really climactic point, like a very high action scene. A lot was happening. There was a huge obstacle that needed to be overcame, and everything would be solved very conveniently. And I hate when that happens in a book. That is one of my biggest book pet peeves, when the author just kind of hands the protagonist a get out sign. That drives me nuts. Like, I like the character to be faced with a challenge and have to go through some things and figure it out themselves, and not just everything handed to them. And that happened so much with Andy and Dex. So Andy, it happened a lot more because she wouldn't know what to do in a situation where she would need to be captain, and then Dex would be like, okay, we're gonna do this, and he would take charge. Or there would be like, okay, we're gonna land here, or this is what we're gonna do next. Instead of Andy thinking things through and tangibly deciding what to do next, somebody else kind of made those decisions for her, which was frustrating. And in specific points like saving Valen, who is the charge she's trying to rescue from a pretty much impenetrable prison in an entire different solar system. Like, it was just so easy for them to rescue this person, and it is supposed to be like you walk into this prison and you leave dead. Like, that is how it's supposed to be here. And it is so complicated. There are like 17 different floors, and there are guards everywhere, and Andy and Dex like got in and out in an hour. Like, it was too easy for them to get Valen. There wasn't even like, it was really described how they got through all the guards and stuff. Like, they just kind of like, okay, we left our cells, we killed the guards outside, okay, we got to Valen's cell now, and like, let's go. And it's like, first of all, they were handed all of the information to go into this battle. There was literally a character simply made to hand them that material and that information that they needed to infiltrate this prison, to know exactly where to go. The key was given to them. Like, the bars of their jail cells were already unscrewed. They just had to basically walk through and do the mission. And that, to me, was a cop-out, kind of. Like, you could have done so many more interesting things with how they figured that out and the challenges that they had to go through and different things, and it was just kind of handed to them. Another easy way out is, I'm not going to say what it was, but the way that Dex betrayed Androma, the reason that he betrayed her, it was an easy way out for him. Like, oh yeah, I obviously turned you in because they had somebody I loved, but like, there was no reason for them to take that person, and it was also, there was no indication of why they would have known that Dex had Andy. They took an innocent person with really no explanation or reasoning. There was no way of them knowing that Dex was with Andy, or at least none that was mentioned in the book. And it just felt like an easy way out so Dex didn't have to feel bad for what he did to Andy anymore. Those things bothered me. But it didn't completely ruin the story, which was really great. So I really loved how intertwining things were. There were several different plot lines going, like 5 different characters that were each out for their own agenda, and they all kind of intertwined to create this really awesome, massive, destructive plot. the way the rebellion kind of started and the way Nor kind of rose to power, I thought was really, really interesting in the way they set it up throughout the book, and they gave you kind of subtle hints as to what was happening, but didn't outright say what they were building up. Was really, really cool. And there were so many just like fine details that kind of twisted together and kind of created a big reveal at the end, or a plot twist that you didn't see coming. That's one of my favorite parts of reading books, is when you think something is so insignificant that when you later like track it through the story, that it actually ends up being really, really powerful and impactful. That is like my favorite thing in literature, and there were a lot of these in Zenith, which I thought was super awesome. I really liked the plot twists. There were a couple different moments where I was like, holy shit, like I didn't see that coming. I thought that the main like climax happened at like the middle of the book, and then I was like, what could be happening for another 250 pages? And then it kept me reading because things were twisting and turning in ways that I didn't previously see. So once I got to like the halfway point of the book, I flew, because the plot was really picking up in speed, and so many things were twisting and turning, and like they were throwing things out of left field that you never would have imagined to happen, and it was really, really well done. I thought the ending was pretty perfect, actually. It leaves you in kind of a very dark, desolate place, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hope, but there's that like one glimmer of hope at the end, and now I cannot wait to see what happens with this next book. Like, I cannot believe that I have to wait at least another year for the second book in the Androma Saga to come out to know what happens, because the way things are left at the end, you're just kind of like, now what? Like, now I need to know what happens. Like, it leaves off at a very high energy point. Kind of like a cliffhanger, but not really, because like the big event just happened and things are only just starting to like fall apart. And you know that more doom is coming, but you want to know when the doom is going to end and how it ends. So that I'm very excited for. So I'm very excited for the second one. And I really, really enjoyed this concept. I think at first I didn't really see the crew of all females, because the crew is just 4 people. I didn't see a crew of just 4 people working out, but I thought it was such a cool concept. I think women are so underrepresented in sci-fi, especially in like space exploration novels and things like that. So it was really, really awesome to see like a badass troop of women. Like, I would love to be on that spaceship. And I thought the world building and the different places that they created, and I really saw their creativity and their imagination, and it was so lovely to see in a book. They clearly thought of concepts that like I had never heard of, like, and everything was so well built, even down to the smallest detail. There was a whole planet where the race of people were exposed to reactivity when the planet was terraformed, and that they all were born with like different special powers, and like they created more animals and different geographical forms and like different materials. Like, I should not say that they're different materials. I do not know if beryllium is actually an element. It might be, it might not be. I had never heard of it before, but I was like, this is super cool. And a whole spaceship built out of it. So there were so many cool things that they kind of came up with and created, and really made a full-fleshed world of fantasy and sci-fi, really, and space. And it was just so cool. Like, I felt like I was visiting all of these planets. I wanted to go there, and I wanted to go to Rymor and Arcardius, and see all like the estates and stuff. I wanted to fly in a spaceship. Like, I wanted to do all of these things because the world was so well built and fleshed out, and really created an awesome setting for a really, really intricate plot that played out really well. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4-star review on my Goodreads. It's like a 3.75 or a 4. I'm really nervous I'm gonna have to leave. Or a 4-star review for me. I really, really enjoyed it, despite how long it took me to read, and like how afraid of the hype I was and how I had to restart it and the things I mentioned previously that I didn't enjoy about this book, but I actually really liked this one and I'm very excited for the second one. I'm still on the fence about making it a staff pick at the bookstore. I don't know if I like loved it enough to make it a staff pick, but I might because I actually really enjoyed it. So I'm like at a crossroads as to what to do. So if you think I should make this a staff pick, if you think my heart and soul is enough in it, please leave me a comment down below. But yeah, that is my review for Zenith, the first book in the Androma saga by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings, and I thought it was really good, and I would recommend it if you're looking for an interesting, fast-paced, adventure sci-fi novel. I think this would be a really good one, and it's a new release and it's really cool. I like the cover a lot. These colors made a really great eye look that I would do again. So yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts down below if you have read it or if you want to read it, and let me know if there is anything. Oh, did you just see that? Oh god, spiders. If there is what am I trying to say? A new release that you think I should be reading this year. But that is it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had so much fun reading this book and reviewing it. I felt like this time I actually had tangible thoughts to say. Yeah, be sure to check me out on social media. I'm on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, and Goodreads as RoyReadingCo. And go be my friend on the interwebs, and I will see you there. And leave me a comment down below, and make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys soon for another one. Farewell, friends. Have a wonderful day.